Unfiltered voices, hear the real stories of strength and how we.
Today we're sitting here in the presence of Nadia Nadim, our first guest to come to our podcast, Unfiltered Voices.
Nadia Nadim is a professional footballer, and what strikes us, and I guess everyone else in the world, is how positive you are and how resilient you are. You're a footballer, you're also a surgeon, and you were a former refugee. You fled Afghanistan with your family at such a young age, escaping the Taliban, and you arrived in Denmark. You started from scratch with your family, and that's where you learned football, and that's how you became a professional footballer. And now you represent your country in Denmark, and you also represent the best clubs. You've been representing the best clubs in the world. So, and such an inspiring person that we have today. So we're going to talk a little bit about her story and everything that the advice that she can give us and everyone listening to this podcast.
Yeah, so we're honored to have you here. It's going to be interesting to know about what's the strength behind your journey, and why it's bold to show your scars. So welcome, Nadia, and very happy to have you here. How are you doing?
Thanks, guys. What an introduction. My God. Well, thank you. I'm honored to be your first guest. When I heard you had a podcast, I was like, yeah, I need to be there. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here in Swiss. And then, yeah, I'm looking forward for the next hour to have a chat with some friends.
Nice. So going back to when you arrived in Denmark, can you tell us a bit about what was the biggest challenge for you arriving in Denmark, like physically and emotionally?
Yeah, our journey wasn't the easiest journey just because we had to escape the country I was born in, and it had become such a hostile place for women. You weren't allowed to have access to school, education, sport. Forget about it. I didn't even know they existed. So it was basically try to survive and try to lay low. And again, my mom at a certain point thought, we need to have a future. And here, there's no future. We need a second chance at life. And yeah, found some human smugglers. We were transported out from Afghanistan to Pakistan. It borders up to each other. It's very easy. From there, with fake passports, we were flown to Italy. And from there, behind a truck, we were transported to Denmark, where I arrived in a refugee camp. And I feel this is where my life really started, because until then, I've just only been a passenger in the journey. A passenger who was scared, didn't knew nothing. I was really, most of the time really scared, and you wanted to be close to your mom because that's the only protection you had. And then I grew up not really being allowed to be outside because it was too dangerous. If it wasn't for people who want to be kidnapping you, or the rockets that you'd be hearing, so it was always something that I had to run away from. And then suddenly you arrive in a refugee camp where there is just quiet and peace. There's nothing. The only thing I had to do was from 9 to 1 I used to go to this language class where it was 40 people ranging from age 10, I guess, 11 me till 40 something, So it was like really a diverse group from all over the world. And we used to sing these songs that I had no idea what it meant. I was like, what is happening? I didn't really care though. And then after that, I used to just be outside exploring, because by nature I'm very curious. And me and my sister Diana, we used to just wander around. I think, and this is where I felt my life changed. This is where I slowly understood who I am, and this is where football came into my life. And you think, for me, that was the biggest, discovery. It's like, the love of my life. I love the game more than anything, but also because what it has done for me, what it has done for my family. It basically took a broken child and made it to who I am today. And I always say it's fate. It wasn't, I was meant to be there. I was meant to discover like these football fields. I was meant to stand behind these fences and look into the, kids playing. And first time seeing that girls are allowed to play football. Like, or this is a girl, she's my age, she just looks more happy and more free than I am. And I'm standing here behind this cage and I'm looking at her. I'm like, wow, I really want to do what she's doing. So it started from there. And you know, the emotions and everything as a kid is, you know, you're so good in adapting, and you just like kind of jump in the environment. You don't really think about what's happening about you. So it didn't affect me that much, everything I've been through, because I was like, new things, this is what I'm gonna do now. But I could see like some with my mom, you know, she went from I'm strong to suddenly like now she had like a place where she can, you know, break down, and she broke down. You could just see she lost weight and she looked like really, really depressed, while I was like, second chance, I'm gonna grab this and I'm gonna try to do all the things I wanted to do, you know. And then start playing football, and my first thing I saw girls playing, and I became obsessed with it, and I've never let that ball, you know, further than.
Yeah, that's so inspiring, and so many kids are fleeing their country. They have to leave their home and they lose family members, and you know this.
Yeah.
You've been through this, so what would you say to these kids? What is your, what kept you going? What would you say to them?
I think, you know, it's yeah, I don't know if we live in a more sad world than previously, but maybe the social media does that, we are more aware of it. But it's heartbreaking to see what's happening around the world. You don't have to look that far, and I really get affected when it's, as you said, children who are affected, because they don't have a choice. They don't choose where they're born. They're so helpless, and you know, being in a place where your parents have been killed and you have nothing and you are starving, or like there's so many of this happening right now. It's heartbreaking, and I know this feeling of being hopeless and helpless and scared of your life, and you know, trying to survive. For those kids, I would say, I know it looks hopeless, but it's so important that you keep your faith, believe that tomorrow might get better, that it will get better. This is, you know, the only thing that I felt kept us going, like the belief that it's okay, it's horrible right now, we are in a really bad situation, but there's a future. And then, you know, I was lucky to have a mom who was amazing, and you know, she was a warrior, and I'm so grateful to have had her in my life, because she was educated, but also more than that, she had such a strong will, and she did not give up. So like this search of a better life or a better future, it's so crucial for your sanity, but also for you to be able to cope with obstacles, you know, difficulties at that moment.
But I can say to you, you're such a warrior too, so you got it from your mom, maybe. That your life speaks for itself.
Yeah, no, very, very
thanks,
inspiring.
appreciate that.
I remember when we met playing at PSG together, and we were roomies, and one of the first times we spent together, I remember I was sitting on the bed for like 3 hours, and you would tell me your whole story. And honestly, like for me, you're so inspiring. I know you're so inspiring to so many people, but to me, like, you're a hero, seriously. And I think your mom, how you spoke about her always, I think she has done an amazing job. Like, she really, I just want to honor her, because I know how much she meant to you, and she really made sure that you have a good start and that you can achieve everything that you achieve now.
Yeah, thanks, appreciate that. Yeah, no, she was incredible, you know, and you know, it's been 2.5 years, and we spoke about life is short, then it can just change overnight, and this is one of the reasons I'm like, oh my god, this is one of those things I think I'll never get over, because she's only 57 years old, and she had such a hard life. Like, she worked so hard, and then at the end it just boom, like. And yeah, but I appreciate you honoring her, like, and I 100% agree. She is, I think, the strongest human being that I've ever met, and she was your size.
So that shows size doesn't mean anything.
Perfect size.
Yeah. Do you think, like, football has had a healing effect on you?
200%, 100%. I think, you know, what it does for me, it still does, is like when I'm on the field with a football, I really forget everything around me. I'm not saying this, you know, because it's like a cliche. A lot of people say when I do, I dive into my art. That's not what, it's the reality. And I still use it now when I'm stressed, in terms of like, you know, before we used to be stressed exams, or like you having problems in your private life. I think this is my outlet. I go, and then for 2-3 hours, actually, you can forget everything around. And I felt as a kid, that's, you know, that was the place I can cope with everything that I've been through. And that's the only place I felt really, really safe. And I actually felt a bit of accomplishments. You start at the beginning, you can't really juggle, but then you train for a day, and then suddenly you're like taking 20 juggles. You're like, holy shit, I started here, but now I'm here. So that feeling of growth, I think, had a huge impact on me, like really. And that, it gives you always like a bit of, you know, leaves you hungry, you want more. And it still is the same way, you know. And I feel it would have been so difficult for me not having football, or having like something I could cope with. And for me, that's what football is. But also, to be honest, without sounding arrogant, I think no matter what sport was presented itself to me at that point, I would have, like, you know, jumped on it, because I needed it to survive.
Yeah.
And even more inspiring from you is that while you were playing at a top level football, you also studied surgery, which is probably one of the hardest studies in the world. How did you do both?
Yeah, I mean, school, you know, I come from a family where education was very, very important, especially for my mom. My mom was, bless her soul, the first one in her family to get any kind of education, because before her, girls weren't allowed to attend school. So when she was 5-6 years old, she had to beg her grandmother to take her to school and admit her in school, because her father wouldn't allow girls to go to school. It wasn't something culturally, you know, happening. So the first couple of months, she had begged her grandma to take her, and then the school lecturer had to look at her teeth, because that's how you knew how old the kids were. Is your teeth, falling out? I don't know how it works, but because no one knows when people were born. You don't have a birthday. It's how it works. If you're not educated, you wouldn't know the months. Like, it doesn't exist. So they had to check her teeth, how old she is, and she's like, 5-6 years old. Okay, fair enough. She can start. And the first 2 months, because my grandfather, her dad, used to work in like mines, where they used to find like stones, like valuable stones. So he wasn't at home. And then when he came back after 2 months, and then had seen her little blackboard with like ABC or like Arabic letters, and had people have told her that she's really good in school, they let her go. It was like, okay, don't worry. So she was the first one to finish school, and then she was very, very intelligent, and she wanted to become a doctor. But again, life hit her. She, got married, children. But she made sure that all her siblings went to school. So when it came to us, obviously my mom was like, there's only 3 options for doctor, engineer, lawyer, or disappointment. No, that's not what she said. But she was always she always emphasized the importance of education, because she knew that education is your key in life. I think she knew that's going to give you a voice, and she knew that if you understand your environment and you have a voice, you can actually fight for your rights, and you can change your environments. So she's always be like, yeah, really nice that you play football, really nice, but make sure. And this is the deal we had with her. I remember begging her to let me play football in a club level, and the club was like really far away, and I had to bike to the train station, take the train, take the bus, and then come back all the way. So you will be spending a lot of time on it. And she said, yeah, that's the only way you can do that is if you come with A marks for me. And I was like, no worries, I'll do it. And hence the reason. And of course, I'm really proud to be a doctor. It's been taking me a really long time, and has not been easy at all. Our schedule is crazy. Yeah, and becoming a doctor, as you said, probably one of the hardest educations that you can have, because there's so much all the time. But I feel where there's a will, there's a way, and I really wanted it. I wanted it because I think, you know, through our journey, through my life, one thing that I've noticed is, you know, when everything comes to a certain point, what matters is your humanity, your kindness. If you have nothing to give, the minimum you can give is like empathy. That's something that I always say. I say, we human beings, our first instinct is, if you see a child falling, crying, or an elderly man falling, you want to help them because they're helpless. So there's going to be situations in your life where you're going to be helpless. Been situations in my life where we have been helpless. And what always hit me really hard was the ones who actually acknowledged our helplessness and acknowledged us as humans. Didn't do much, maybe just smiled. That was enough. So for me, that little thing, you know, I knew the importance of it. So I wanted to be on the other hand where I can do the same for other people, help people. And I think, of course, you can do it a million ways. But I thought being a doctor where you could be in places like Gaza right now, you know, where you are probably the only person who can save someone's life. There's no way there's anything better for me than that. So I wanted to be on the other side because the importance of it, the impact that it had on my life. So I went through it, and, you know, now a full doctor, it's amazing, and I can't wait to like really immerse myself into that world. Once I'm really done with football, I'll have more time, and then hopefully I can make, you know, a difference in the world.
You're already making it.
Yeah, thanks.
You're definitely making a big difference in the world.
Thanks, appreciate it, guys. So much love.
Well, you deserve it. You suffered 2 ACLs while playing in the US.
Yeah.
That must have been tough. I mean, I'm going through it right now. It's my first big injury. So I kind of know what you went through. It's a long way back.
Yeah.
Talking about that football is your happy place and helps you also go through difficult times.
Yeah.
How was it for you during this period? How did you cope with these 2 ACL injuries?
Yeah, good question. It's heartbreaking, you know it. Like it's such a horrible injury. I just feel, you know, when it happened, I was so heartbroken, and the timing, like, you know, this, I feel like always it comes the worst timing. Like the first time it happened, I think I was like 7 months away from the Euros, 8 months maybe. And I was like, why now? Because I wanted to be so good at these Euros. You know, when you have this, I'm like, I'm going to kill it. Like, you know, this is the feeling. You're I'm going to be. And I was really feeling myself in the league. You know, I was in good shape, good momentum, everything. And it just hits you so hard. And I felt really sad for myself the first day and a half. I was really like, you know, I was Ben and Jerry's on the couch. Oh, why me? Yeah. Like, the thing is, I didn't understand why, because I'm really rational. Normally, I always find there is a reason for some things. I'm like, but after a day and a half, I got my shit together. You know, I said, you know, what happened has happened. Now, if it doesn't help me to lay there and feel sorry and sad for myself, it does not make me recover faster. So I cannot use all of this. So I just out. So then I focused, okay, where's the best doctor? How can I get like the best treatment that I can? And how can I be back ASAP? And I came back in record time. Like I was really like, but I think we underestimate the mind, you know, like I think the power of like, okay, now this is what I'm going to do. And I think, I don't know, maybe it's because of my experience. I always put things in perspective. You know, I was feeling sorry for myself, but then I thought to myself, you know what, it could be so much worse. I've seen it. I know it can be so much worse. So right now, yeah, it sucks, but I'm lucky that I'm in a place where I can get the best treatment, and I like, you know, I can rehab and I can take care of it, and you know, I'm in a good environment. So my happy place, which was football, suddenly had to, for a while be the gym, even though I hate the gym.
Did you end up liking it?
No, I still hate it. My God, but you have to kind of like almost fake your mind, that okay, I'm here. It's so hard.
You can start working on your. That's what helps me right now. I'm starting to work on things that I maybe never had time to work on. The weakness.
Yeah,
and,
correct. Yeah, I agree. And as I said, it gives you a time to maybe overall become like stronger. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm getting more muscle mass everywhere, because I've always been really skinny. I've never been like so. But at the end of the day, I think it's really in your mind. I think, and also this is something I know from research. People who get injured or people who had surgeries, if you make them stand up like right after surgery, chances of them recover faster is so much higher than the ones who actually feel bad for themselves or lay there and then really like a long time, even though it's the same surgery. So it's like, it shows that your mind is so powerful.
Of course.
Yeah. So, but again, I know what you're going through. It's not easy, and it's not because I didn't have days where I was, bawling my eyes out in the gym because I didn't want to be there and I was in pain. But then it's your motivation. I really wanted to be back in the Euros, and I was back. I came back, made it to the Euros, but I just wasn't in the shape I wanted to be, fitness-wise. Also because that's something else that you have to add on.
Of course.
But I just, as I said, everything sometimes happens for a reason. I think we get tested, and I always try to put things in perspective. I always try really and I try to be grateful even though it's bad moments, because we have a lot of things we can be grateful for.
Yeah.
And we can always have it so much worse. It's not even something I'm saying, trust me.
Yeah. I mean, you've lived it. So
yeah,
yes.
And you just have to travel 3 hours with plane, and then you'll see how the world is. So in that way, sometimes I think it's important to take a step back of the situation and then analyze and be like, you know what? Yeah, it
it's
sucks.
actually not that bad.
Yeah, actually, but it's okay. I got people I love.
Yeah.
I'm in good hands.
Yeah.
I believe in faith, and I think I'm going through all of this because there's a bigger picture in it. There's a bigger reason. And it's gonna make me stronger, because it hurts when you're in it. But all that ACL injuries has made me really strong in the upper body. Stop looking at my arms. I can see you. Stop looking at
look skinny. Sorry.
Oh my God! Look at. It's not the size though, huh?
I want to say something because you say you're so grateful for your life. If you know Nadia Nadim and if you follow her on Instagram, you'll see that every single day I think I see what a great day to be alive.
Hey.
Why do you say that all the time? How did you come up with that?
I mean, it's the reality, I'm one of those people, probably is going to be irritating if you are not a morning person, because I wake up and I'm like, what a day. So, I don't know, I really love the days in the morning, and especially if the sun is out and you feel, I'm walking to my way to football, what I love, and actually get paid for it. So there's a genuine, really happiness from inside. And as I said, I'm actually really grateful because I get to have one more day, and I'm not really scared of death. I'm not, because I think everything has its timing, and if it happened tomorrow, that's it. But the fact that I get to wake up, and the fact that I'm healthy, breathing, I might have pain in my ankle, knees, whatever, back, hamstrings, all of the above, but expect all of that. I actually am healthy. I breathe fresh air, and yeah, the sun hits my face and I feel it, and just pure. And that's it's not something I'm doing because I do it, I actually mean it. And I said you'll not understand if you're around me in the morning, especially. You're like, oh my God, so annoying. But it's about remembering, that there's always things that we can be grateful for. And the basic as, if you ever been to a hospital, walk through, there's people who actually sit with these gas oxygen tanks because they can't breathe by their own.
Oh, yeah.
The basic thing, the first thing when you're born is you breathe because your lungs are normally collapsed. The air gets in. That's the first thing. Imagine being in a place where you cannot breathe. Can you imagine? So for me, the fact that I can do it,
Honestly,
great.
you know that you say that because my experience at the clinic when I was there, you know, I had anxiety, really bad.
Yeah.
And once I realized, okay, I can always come back to myself and I can breathe myself. And to be honest, this really helped me reset and helped me understand, okay, I actually have the power of my own body. I can breathe myself. There are people that can't even breathe by themselves, and that was something that really helped me. So it's interesting that you mentioned that.
It's true though. Like, you're so right. I think, listen, it's life. We're always gonna go through difficulties in any shape, colors. Like, everyone has their own, you know, course, challenges. And then exactly remembering, like, to shift your focus from what you cannot control, ACL, anxiety, you name it, you know, past family members, but shift it to things that you can control. Your breathing, you know, like how you wake up and choose how your day's gonna be. It's gonna be not gonna be easy, but it's just about like shifting your perspective. So, and I think I've said this before, I'm really good in finding the light in dark places because I really, really search for it. Like, I don't care how dark there is. If you like wait and stare in the dark, your eyes are gonna adapt, and then suddenly you start to see things clearly. And that's exactly what I do. I accept it. Yeah, I feel the pain. I go through. I never, you know, I don't not feel it because I don't think that's healthy. I feel all the emotions. But at the end of the day, acknowledge it and then try to change your perspective.
Yeah, it's. I actually have to say I miss playing with you because having you around, your happiness and your happiness for living the life and being positive, you know, every day, no matter what you're going through. It's. I miss having this around.
Yeah, I miss playing with you too. I remember, you know what, I don't know if I've ever said this to you. The first time, you know, we played against each other, I don't know if you remember. I thought it was in Turkey.
Was that national team?
No, it was in Turkey. I was on this Skolbakken team in Aarhus, and you, I think, was on a Swedish team.
Probably Rosengård.
It was Rosengård or Umeå maybe, yeah.
Okay.
And I think there was like a training camp for 10 days, and you guys were there, we were randomly, and we had to play against each other. I remember, you know, you're doing something with a skill, and I was like, okay, she's showing off. I remember, and all the other ones were like, oh, dang, did you see her? I'm like, whatever. Whatever. But I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was like. Oh, she's good. But yeah, no, it's been amazing playing with you. You're such a great player. You're a legend. You know this. You've been all the, you know, crazy places. You've won so much individual trophies, but also team. And yeah, and you know, it sucks that you got injured before the Euros in your home country, but still, I think you do so much for the women's game, and you know, you've done so much for the Swiss national team. You literally put them on the map. So, you know, it's your journey. It sucks that, you know, that you have the ACL injury, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna get back on track.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to. I mean, yeah, you've been there, you've done that, so
twice.
An inspiration again.
Yeah.
If I can do it, you can do it too. Remember?
Exactly. If you could go back to the girl who arrived in Denmark, what would you tell her now, from all you've been going through, like the strength, the hope, the healing? Like, is there something you would tell this young girl?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, you know, coming to a country where you are different, like, I always felt different. Yeah. I've never felt like I fit in. And when you were younger, you really want to fit in. Like, I would say at the beginning, I was really trying hard to fit in. But at a certain point, I just realized, I was like, that's never gonna happen, so I don't care. Like, that's what. So for me, and I was even told when I was younger, like, I still do, to be honest, that why can't you not just do what she's doing? Why can't you not be like her? And yeah, as a kid, I think I was struggling, like, not fitting in and not belonging. So I'll tell her or me myself as a kid that don't worry about it. What you're doing is right, and then you just be you. Because it took me, you know, a couple of years, or when I was a bit elder, to understand that as you know, people are always gonna say something about you, and high likely I will never belong. I will never. There's gonna be a lot of people in Denmark who will never consider me Danish, no matter what I've done. And it doesn't really matter. I think that will be my message to myself, that keep doing you. You know, close your eyes, believe in yourself, and then everything will be okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great word to finish with. Be you. You will always have people that will not agree with what you're doing, but as long as you stay true to yourself, you're doing the right things.
Yeah. Amen.
Thank you so much for coming to our podcast.
Of course.
It's been a pleasure to have you here, an honor.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep being you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Always nice to catch up with
Thank
friends. It's been amazing.